Okay, welcome to the Small Business Web Tech Show, and with Marilyn and I. Marilyn today is off in Los Angeles with our daughter, helping her, so she's here remotely, so she has her own little window, and we're going to first start off by talking about our sponsors. And there we go. Oceanside Chamber is where we're holding this event, and they're a very progressive chamber, and they have a lot of great events. Harbor Days, Armed Forces, Oceanside Expo, North County Health Fair, and they also are really big on helping their small business members understand social media. Our company, oops, going the wrong way. Sonic Spider LLC, that's Marilyn and I. We have two divisions, Right Start Websites, where we try to help people get the right start on their website, and Sonic Web Tech, where I do all kinds of geeky technical stuff to help you with your e-commerce and fixing all those little problems that you might run into on your website that are a little more of technical nature. Also helping us today is Rich with Create a Computer Network, Responsive IT Solutions. And he's over here being the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. We have a picture of him here. You can see all the wires and everything that's involved in that. And now we're going to introduce our guest. Martin Shervington has spent the last 15 years empowering others as an executive coach, personal development trainer, author, and marketing consultant, and is the founder of the community manager of Plus Your Life and Plus Your Business. Anybody on Google Plus kind of knows Martin. He's been everywhere and talks to everybody. He's been here in Google Plus from the very beginning, so he has a deep understanding of how it all comes together. And he is also the author of several books on coaching and peak performance. So, Martin.
Hello.
Why don't you do a little song and dance about what you do and where you're coming from, and away we go.
Cool. Thank you. So I arrived on Google Plus. I actually arrived 6th of March 2000, and I can't remember what the date was. It was probably about 7 months after. I caught the last bit of the first wave, and I arrived, and I'm into my surfing, as these guys know. But I arrived, and it took me about 3 days to work out that Google Plus wasn't what I thought it was, and it tied into Google Drive, which is cloud storage, and Gmail and YouTube and search and maps, and that was it then. So that's over 3 years ago I started and then just spent the time going down the rabbit hole and learning just about everything I could, and then how to build communities. And so I have Plus Your Life and Plus Your Business, and that's really been 3 years of my life, is figuring out what this thing is and how people can be using it for their own display of uniqueness, which I guess is the personal development side, and also then for business, how to generate more leads, more customers, community, brand evangelism, and yeah, what works? How do we use these tools?
Well, that's exactly what we're here to discover today, Martin. So I'm going to kind of jump off from that point and say a lot of small businesses really don't get Google Plus.
Yeah.
Either A, don't really know much about it, B, don't really see a need for it, C, have tried it and it just seems way complicated, or E, thought it was like Facebook and couldn't figure out why what they were doing wasn't working. And I know I've got some background noise here. What is it that small businesses need to understand just in general about Google Plus? Why do they need to know about it? Why do they need to be on it? Why?
Okay. So let me ask everybody a question. When was the last time you searched for a restaurant or a laundry or, I don't know, I'm in California, maybe a hot tub manufacturer or something? When did you go to search? Marilyn, you can go first. Let me ask you. When did you search for something that was a local thing, a hairdresser or a restaurant or something on Google?
We were in need of a gardener.
Okay.
And we didn't know who to go to, so we looked on Google.
Okay, so that's a perfect example. Often people bring it up on the mobile, it could be on a desktop, and the first thing that comes up is a pack of results that say local gardener and then list all the different local gardeners. And some of those gardeners have got reviews probably, and some of those gardeners have got stars, and there's a selection. All of that data links back to Google+. So sitting behind search for all local business results is a Google+ page. So the first reason that people need to be on Google+ is that if they have a local business or a service area like a gardener, local business shop front, storefront would be like a pizzeria or something. A service area would be if that pizzeria delivered pizzas as well, or a gardener or a plumber or things like that. If they're in that sort of situation, you want to be on the map, you want to be found when people put in that search, so you want the Google+ page. That's the first step. That's the first reason why every business wants to be on Google+, is because it appears in search in that area. Next thing is once you've done that, you want to get reviews so you stand out more than the other gardener in that selection. So that's a social aspect. You could take it further for a local business, and you could start saying, well, you want to post and you want to serve the community around. I actually recommend to start with, don't scare people. Just begin, get the page, and get some reviews. If you are not the sort of that sort of business, and you are a brand, and you don't have a front door, you haven't got a company address, and you're a brand page, then the decision becomes slightly different. I mean, I've chatted with Pauline and David before, so philosophically, this is how I would approach it, and then we'll come to Google+. Have a website, and your website is the center of your online existence. Google+, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, they are outreach channels. And many of us have found that Google+ is an amazing place to be building communities and to share the content from websites back and to have conversations and to make connections, to jump into technology like this, to hang out on air, live stream on YouTube. All of this is great, but it's very often that the website itself is where the business is done. It's where somebody will pick up the phone and phone you, or do an inquiry, fill in an inquiry form, or sign up for a newsletter, or take that next action step. So the website at the center, distribution channels, including Google+, is the map to have. So then, why do you want to be on Google+? Every Google+ post in its own right is indexed by google.com. So Facebook, the posts aren't, the content isn't. Twitter, there is a deal going on at the minute, but certainly not in the same way. And the evidence that we have is that we can build communities around content like your blog posts that signals, when people engage, that it deserves to be seen in search. I won't go any further with that, but in essence, the Google+ community gives people search results. I mean, you guys will probably be finding this. This is what we've been doing here for a while, is learning how the community is now part of the algorithm that Google's using to base its trust and reputation and ultimately evidence authority. I'll stop talking now because I'll probably talk for about 20 minutes on that otherwise. You know me.
Well, that's a pretty critical point, so I appreciate all the elaboration. John, were you going to?
Yeah, we have David Arnold with a question here. Could you put that up, Rich? Yeah, but you need to. There we go. Put the eye up. And it will respond. There it goes. It says, thank you for the invite. We've been neglecting my Google Plus in favor of the blog, but there's no reason I can't work on both. So he's kind of following up with your idea. He's got his blog going, and now he wants to do both. So, Martin, do you have some thoughts on how we can do both?
I think it's exactly what you do. I mean, once you've built your network, or at least once you've started to build your network, okay, let's begin with that. Whether it's a profile or a page, you need to add people in, and they need to add you back into circles in order for your content or any content you share to be seen in their stream. There's a few parameters to that, but essentially, if you've got 20 people following you, it's hard for your content to get the audience or the eyes it deserves. So the first couple of months is build the network out a bit. +1 comment, share other people's content. Then when you share your blog post, it's likely it's going to appear in their stream if they've added you back. Then this is the critical bit. Any attention you get, any plus ones, any comments, any shares on your content is people paying attention to your content. So there's the potential for a conversation. There's a potential for a step up at that point. And if somebody's sharing your content, you can go and say thank you. But you can also find out why are they sharing it. What is it that they are looking to do? What is it that you have to offer that helps them, that solves their problems? So that's when the distribution, the content serves the community of people that you then can go and have conversations with. And it's hard in the very first month or so, unless you have enough people following you, as I say, for you to see that feedback. So it's a case of step by step, build the network, introduce your content, as people engage, lift up the conversation. Lift up you can send them a private message and start to open up a conversation. You can then take it into a Hangout where you have a video call. You may even meet in real life. And think about it, this is a way of networking. And it's a way of building relationships.
Great, great. Over the years, we've heard the phrase from various Google people and others within Google+, that Google is not a social platform, it is an identity platform, and variations on that. This idea of an identity platform, you've kind of touched up on it a little bit, but could you expand on what that really means? Does that identity platform, what that means to you as a business, and what that means in terms of what Google is using it to identify you? You've touched on it a little bit, but could you be a little more specific?
So Eric Schmidt, I think in 2011, in July 2011, was quoted to saying that Google Plus is an identity service. And the identity service is that it's your digital identity on the web in one place, whether it be your page, even though pages weren't launched at that point, but it's the same now, and this is what I'm saying with local search, or it's your profile that links to your website, links to your Twitter ID, and everything is in one place. So your digital identity on the web is your profile. Now, the other bits was Google Plus. This is why it is never easy, because there's so many ways of approaching this. But Google Plus is a social platform as well as a social layer. Now, the social platform is where you post your content, it's where you join communities, you connect with people, you have conversations on comment threads. That is within this Google Plus thing, and that's what people look at. And some people very often may have the app on their phone and they haven't opened it, they're not in the site. I don't do that thing. That's a social platform bit. And yet, the social layer goes into Gmail. We see that the circles, those circles are stored within Google+. Hangouts, if you have an Android device, then even your text messages go through Hangouts. You have circles. Circles are within Google+, you have Hangouts there. Google.com, the default is personal. So if you have people in your circles, they are influencing potentially your search results, because the social layer of every blog post or every post being indexed and showing in search potentially, and it can influence people and they can influence your results because it's private. So in other words, your network can influence your search results by default. So that's Google Plus content. So that's a social layer spreading out. YouTube comments tie back into Google Plus. It's your Google Plus account. Chrome. As soon as you log into Chrome, you're in Google Plus in terms of the social layer. It's your account. We have a Google One account that we enter into. And that Google One account is your digital identity on the web. So those are the three things in a row, in a way, is you have your digital identity. It's a digital identity service. The social platform is where you engage with people when you connect. And then you have the social layer, which is it goes throughout into search and all of the other products and services, including Drive and Play and everything else.
Very good. Okay.
I have said that a few times.
Yeah. No. Yes, you have. You've said it quite a few times. I just wanted you to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's a big thing. It's Google. It's Google's ecosystem is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But increasingly, I'd say local is where people are becoming. It's hitting the local. It's the data that's coming from the Google Plus page. And Marilyn and I were talking beforehand, and this is how I'm seeing it increasingly, is that people just don't know it's Google Plus. And nor do they necessarily need to unless you're a business. What they're doing is being served the right information to the right person at the right time. That's what Google wants to do.
Okay, great.
I'm
Now,
unmuting myself here, John. I'm going to jump to something that we had that's coming a little bit later, but since Martin's bringing it up now, then just to go a little bit more on that local aspect, and I know I've got background noise going on here, so I hope you can hear okay. But so you're saying that for a small business person, the easiest way to get into Google Plus, and again, maybe not even being aware that it is Google Plus, and to see some results from it is through local. Is that?
If they've got a local, if they've got a front door or service area, absolutely.
And if they don't have a brick and mortar or a local service area, then what's the entree? Is there there's not the easy win, is there, for that situation?
Then I jump to search. And I would say, does the business value search results? Do they look at Google AdWords? Are they using Google AdWords? Do they know what content, what their website is converting in terms of nature of an individual, what they're looking for? And then put together a content marketing strategy for distribution into build a community in Google Plus that allows that content to be amplified, appear in search for those sorts of keywords, build up trust on the site, and you're going to get more business. That isn't a 2-minute job. And I think that's why we look, if you look at how much time and effort and energy has gone in by a lot of people within the community, and they've built their brands and they've built their businesses. I mean, I started off with martinshermanton.com, and I moved to plusyourbusiness.com because I wanted to build a business, not just increase my personal brand. And it's the same principle. It takes time, and you've got to put out lots of blog posts, and you've got to nurture the engagement. You've got to do. The question is that what people want to do, or would it be better for them to buy appropriate ads and have the visitors come from there and go from there? And that's really, it's a philosophical thing, and I think both is the answer. But there isn't a super quick win. What I do think there's a quick win for is connecting with people in the real world, that then, if people are on Google Plus, like yourselves, people then connect with you, get brought in, and get a leg up. I think that's one of the things now. We're getting established enough, the communities are established enough. It's a very positive environment on Google Plus generally. And I think that if people are people feel part of it, it's an exceptional experience. They go, wow, this is kind of different. And I think that's a lovely cultural ethos to have. So for personal brand building and for networks is great, but it's going to take a bit of time and effort.
I totally agree on that feeling that it's, at least from my experience, a very exceptional environment on Google+. But I do know that there are a lot of frustrations from small business people that have a harder time. So I know you've kind of talked about this, but maybe we could just go through again, because some of these things bear repeating. What, for a small business, are the appropriate kinds of goals? Everybody wants more customers, they want, more traffic, et cetera, Are those the kinds of goals, or for Google Plus, or are there goals that will lead to that?
Okay, so the first thing is let's look at an individual within a business. If you are, I was sat in San Mateo the other day, and I'm sat next to a guy who's got a startup, and we got onto social stuff. I happened to mention about Google Plus. He said, yeah, I've done a bit. And I said, are you heading up the content? Are you the voice of the content? Are you putting your name to it? Are you putting your face to it? Are you the person? And he said, no, we're just putting it out on the blog. And I said, why? I said, you've built this, you're a successful guy, you've sold your ass business, and it's a sizable thing in New York. I said, why are you not fronting this? Why is it not you? Really friendly chat. And he's like going, I get it. I need to be the person that people are connecting with, as opposed to it being a cold piece of content on a blog from the business. And it's that shift of mind is that the businesses need to become more like people. And David Amland is the man that sort of leads the way with this, with the semantic search, is that you can't hide. It's not just about the content. It's about that person, who they're connected with, who engages on it. That helps to build authority around the person, around the piece of content. Who you have in your network potentially influences search and the algorithm, which is judging whether content should appear in search. So if you are connected with really high authority people on subject matters that you're into, then that can rub off, and you basically share authority. And we can see this happening. You can see that this is a natural occurrence within the network. So if somebody is trying to simply let their website do the work and they're not willing to put their face to it, that's not really the way things are. Why? Google Plus is an identity service. You go back to the principles. And so if you're able to be the face and to be the brand and get out there and to connect with people, it makes such a difference to how people receive what you do. But it's a journey. It's a journey. And for people to step out and to be doing Hangouts or to be the face of the blog, and there's often steps that people have to take to get to that point. But if you do it, the wins are far greater. And the algorithms, let's say not just the algorithm, but the people's response to the community that then signals to the algorithm that this should be seen by more people. We've got the stats. It works. We know. I mean, if you search for social SEO facts or social SEO evidence, I put together a whole blog post, and either of those will probably come up number one, that gives the stats of how I've taken 100 people, and how many of us have done this. You take 100 people, and I've got 310,000 unique visitors to one blog post just because of Google+. And I've done that time and time again. So we know it works, but it's hard work. And you've got to do it. It's very hard to have a business do that because people don't support you enough. They support you, not necessarily the whole brand. And it's different. And this is why I always say start with the profile. You can then move across and transfer that, almost the halo effect of your profile into a brand position. And this is what I encourage people to do. Start with your profile, build up trust, create a reputation, create your network, then the brand starts to become easier for people to connect with.
Okay, I think we have another one up here from Kevin Ross. Taking Google, Martin Sherman has taken Google Plus to another level. I didn't consider that existed, but I fully understand what he's saying. In part, love it through. Love it though. Love it though.
Hey, great comment. Thanks, Kevin.
Very good. Okay, now we bandy the word around brand and use the word brand, and most people, especially small businesses, think in terms of the brand as being like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and BMW and all these sort of big things. And there's a lot of talk within Google Plus talking about personal brand.
Yeah.
And so can you kind of focus on this idea of brand at a personal level? And what that means and how you build that within Google+. You've touched on it a lot, but let's look at it from the actual talking about the brand.
Yeah. So personal branding. Personal branding is what people perceive that you're into, what they perceive that you talk about. It's their perception of you. It's not necessarily how you see yourself. So if I look at my daily routine, I'll use the example. I put out things on surfing in the morning, I often do a sunset thing in the evening, and then I have two things throughout the day, one of which is about singularity type stuff and technology and artificial intelligence, and the other one is on business, and a lot around Google products and services, but not exclusively. So from a personal branding point of view, people turn up, and just like with Coca-Cola or just like with Mac or whatever it is, you know what you're getting. So your personal brand is created through every action that you take. Every piece of content that you put out is a consistent message, a theme, even though there may be little deviations here and there, but you start to tell a story. And that's the personal brand is a story. A brand is a story. It's the thing that you know before you taste the drink, before you use the computer. It's something which you've bought into. And the great thing with Google Plus is it's easy for people to connect with you on a personal level. The cover photo that you have, the nature of your picture, everything that the people connect with, that they relate to, helps them to see where you're at. So from a personal branding point of view, people also want, it's not as family orientated. People don't tend to post as many pictures of the wife and kids and things like that on Google+. But there's definitely a personal element, is people want to connect with you and your story. So if you are traveling, then they want to see that. And if you are at conferences, then it's great when people can see that. And it's also, it is a network. So part of the personal brand is who you connected with and bringing those people in. And when people see who you spend your time with, then again, it transfers a degree of perceived authority or potentially that, well, just a friends, you know, you're judged by who your friends are. So I think that, particularly if you're posting publicly most of the time, which is a good recommendation, your personal brand is displayed through your personal actions and the public actions. And your content. I mean, if I look at me, I mean, I blogged. I got, I don't know, 200 blog posts on my martinshevington.com. I say 250 because it's probably 350, which makes me sound a bit too geeky, on pleasurebusiness.com. But I've probably done about 600 blog posts. I don't know however many videos. And a lot of people go, well, you talk about Google+. You may talk about the social layer stuff, Google Drive, Google Hangouts, and people kind of know that, and then I can stretch out the territories from there. And that's almost like when you have your blog, if you have your content in your website as the center of it, then this becomes a way of distributing that within the story of your daily routine or the people you're connecting with and the people that you're sharing, and you're making your network look like their network. That's what you want. You want to keep growing the network and allows for the information to flow. So your personal brand, see that one be good. Your personal brand, I do comedy once in a while, it's not that funny. Your personal brand is something that people get used to. And one of the examples is if people put out political content, or they put out religious content, then that is what people will engage on, and sometimes it's polarized because they have people have a different view, and people decide what they want to do. I mean, this is online. This is generally who do you want to spend your time with? What conversations do you want to have? And then put in content that encourages those conversations.
Really good. I think we have another one from Tanya. And you got to do it on your own, within your own voice. So she's talking about the idea of voice.
Yeah.
And that gives it the flavor. Is that how you're thinking of that too?
Yeah, definitely. Your brand. One tip, if you've got a brand page, is to personalize it so that people know it's you. And so, you know, for instance, when you're posting, let them know this is Martin, by the way. And I do that on the Plus Your Business page just to make sure people know it comes from you. And your voice is a consistent style. It's something that people are used to. And Hangouts are so important. And the Hangouts on Air, which is this live streamed onto YouTube, this is a great way because we've got an interactive event going on. And it's a great way for people to connect. They can become part of it. And then go, do you know what? I like what you said there, or I didn't like what you said there. And it allows people to have contact in a way which is as closest to the real world as we really can. And then you see that running across 10 interviews, 100 interviews, and you build up an image, just like you do as watching TV, is you get an impression of where a person's at and what they're talking about and how they relate to people. And that's personal branding. Right. And for me, wearing hoodies with, you know, California style.
Yeah, well, that's great. Now, to take this a little more to another level within Google.com, is how do you see the connection between all this personal brand you just talked about and how that influences your SEO and semantic search and those kind of things? Is that like the next connection you're looking for after you build, as you're building all of this personal brand, and Google is now looking at that personal brand to understand you, so that then semantic search starts falling into place?
I go for a yes, but I'm going to do something geeky, and people may have forgotten this because it's been a while. Back in 2012, I think probably the end of 2012, there was a little frenzy where Joshua Berg saw that the PageRank tool, which was a Google tool, was showing essentially a number on people's profiles, potentially on even people's pages. And it was given a rank of like 4 or 5 or 6, just like a website had a PageRank. Now, Google are not focused on PageRank and backlinks and all of these things. It's changed a lot. We know that. It's very much about authentic relationships, community building, content emerging in search. However, what started to happen is people began to realize that maybe we're building up authority within our profiles, within our pages, that Google is then recognizing. Of course, they'll be running numbers to some extent. And what I found is that when lots of people, but particularly people who have high authority in those niches already, when they engage on content, then it seems to sit very well in search. First page, first, second position, and so on. So our authority is built by trust, people connecting, people putting their face. Every time you +1 something, you put your face on a post. You link back essentially to that piece of content. When you share, you create a new URL that has that original post, but you take up, it's called authorship, you take up the authorship of it, and that can be taken into search. You can get a piece of content into search higher than somebody else if it's perceived that it's more relevant for somebody to see that piece of content, even if you didn't publish it yourself in personalized search or in private search. So we can see that Google are using what we are doing here as a way to find out if a piece of content is trusted and should be seen by more people. So I think that there's tremendous amount that's going on that we don't understand, but we don't necessarily have to. What we need to understand is the principles are create the best content that you possibly can, serve it to the most appropriate people that you can, and Google are likely to want that to be seen by more people because it kind of makes sense.
So I'm thinking about, for our audience members, for them to be clear in their minds what Google Plus can do that others can't. I think you can hear those blowers in the background. Sorry about that. So you've talked about the Google My Business and local. That's definitely something that happens only on Google Plus. And then we have your ability to build your brand, which is easier, I would say, on Google Plus. And you've talked about the indexing factor that is, and the Hangouts on Air. Is there anything else about that's unique with Google Plus that you cannot do anywhere else, but only on Google Plus? And conversely, are there things that you can do on other social networks that don't work as well on Google Plus?
Yeah. Cool. Well, we covered lots of bits, so I think thanks for bringing it together, Marilyn. Let's just dive into one of those again. Personal branding. This is a Hangout on Air live stream on YouTube. You can download that video. You can chop it into sections. You could repurpose that, and you could put a front end and a back end on it, and you've got yourself new content that can go onto your YouTube channel. YouTube's the second biggest search engine in the world. You could then take that content, 3-minute, 5-minute segment. You could share that back on Google Plus and potentially gain an audience there. That can appear in search as well as on YouTube. So we've got to see this as the ecosystem for that. Now, in terms of what else can be done, I think that Drive, from an efficiency point of view, we haven't really talked about. I think it's an incredible tool for everybody collaborating. I think that Hangouts, I think virtual workspaces, I don't think we've hardly even started what you could be doing if we changed how we viewed this. This is incredible technology. Look at what we're doing here. This is live stream for free. It's amazing. So this, for a small business, is very, very powerful. Now, AdWords, Google AdWords, Google Paid, I am a massive fan of. And I think that that's something always to look at is there a more appropriate way to get the result that people are looking for than necessarily another way? And AdWords is something that in the marketing mix I think should be used. Facebook advertising, it's been a while since I've done it, but I used to do it a lot when it launched. And that is an enormous database. And if you measure, I'm not talking about getting more likes on your page, I'm talking about targeting ads and even remarketing so that you can track, once people go to your website, you can be tracking them across the web with your adverts and then doing tests. Now, some people, it may not be appropriate, but all of these things are useful tools. Other sites, if you're a foodie and you've got a restaurant, Pinterest or Instagram may be really useful, but you've got to put the work in. If you're going to build a network, you've got to put the work in. And I think the advantage of Google Plus is that it's part of an ecosystem. We've got local. We know that's going to be a big, big thing for local businesses. But we also know that it doesn't take a lot of people engaging on content to signal to search that this should be seen by more people. We've got a search engine attached to it. This is the thing. This is one of the big differences. And communities are the ones that are signaling the messages. So that's what I think is not just all, and we've got so many other properties that Google have got, so many other products and services. Let's look at where we're at. YouTube, Google Plus, local search results. Even that is very, very powerful.
Fantastic summation. John, were you going to go, or shall I?
Yeah. One of the things that is sort of my we got one from Fariz that Rich has put up. Great explanations, thank you. Do you see collections? Oh, great. We're going to bring collections in here. Do you see collections as a form of ID or the story that you were referring to? So, collections. How does that fit into the tool?
We're going to have a printer go off in the background, just So collections, Google Plus Collections launched last week, and the closest approximation is that they're like Pinterest boards, but it's going to be different. They are going to be different, and they're very much a Google Plus version of curation. So you can have your content, or you can have other people's content, and it can be niched. So I actually have 3 now, but I had 2 until yesterday, which is life and business. I have life, the universe, and everything, and I have business, connecting the dots. And the reason why is I have plus your life, plus your business. And the UK community is the other one that I've done. But what most people are doing is differentiating it into, okay, well, let's take the life one. Is that personal development? Is that TED Talks? Is that the singularity? And they'll differentiate in a niche each of those collections. Well, they'll take the content and then niche it. What I would say is that it is storytelling. It's a way of displaying at a higher level the themes that you operate to. Are you into social media? Are you into website design? Are you into I don't know, visual storytelling? Whatever it may be. And I think it's a really, really good way of showing yourself. But communities are indexed by Google search. Collections, the same as posts, are indexed. I see a future where, just like Pinterest boards get indexed in search, collections get indexed in search, and it may even be that personalized. And all this is total speculation, but it may be that it's more appropriate for me to see collections from people within my circles even than from general. And Google's all about getting the right information to the right people at the right time. So I think it's incredibly early days with collections. I do think that the authority that you have will get transferred, because the historic posts or even future posts and the engagement will get transferred to a collection. And I think that's something which is why I'm telling people, think SEO. And think titles, make it easy for Google, and everything is aligned.
Yeah, very, very good. One of my favorite, I was going to start before I saw her post, one of my favorite ways of approaching things, especially for small businesses, is to make sure that each step that they take and each task that they take on has value in and of itself. Because what happens with small businesses is they get sidetracked real quickly. They start on something, it takes a lot of time, and then suddenly life enters into the picture, and they get derailed, and then they start to feel like that they've wasted time. So one of the things I like to emphasize is that each of these little pieces that you're talking about, break them down and say, okay, if you do this piece, this is what you're going to gain. Okay, and if you stop there, you're ahead of the game. Okay, later on, you do one more piece, and it gains you something. And, okay, life takes over, and you have to go off and do something else for a while, but you've managed to raise the level each time. And that's kind of the approach that I think, and I see some heads nodding in the audience here, the approach that means something to small businesses is that you don't want to waste your time going off for the big brass ring. when you probably will never get there, just because it's so much. Instead, look at those small steps. We had a hangout with Mark Trapagan about the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart, and that was my emphasis in that conversation too. So what do you see with all the things you talked about here today is those little steps. You talked about local. That's a first little step. That's good. Okay, now what about the business who isn't local? They're just totally internet. What would be their first win that they could do? And then what would be the next win that they might do? Let's just sort of take it 2 levels, you might say.
I would say the first thing is to find people that they are connected with. If they're watching this, it's actually to connect with you two and for them to be brought into your community. Because you can quicken the process by which they're going to learn. You can point them in the right direction. You can say, look, don't bother doing this for the first month or what have you, and guide them. And I think that's what people need, is they need guides. Mm-hmm. And I could say that what I'd like people to do is create content and then build the community. They may not do that. And I think this is why I say AdWords can be great sometimes and Facebook can be great, is that there may be more appropriate ways. If somebody's not going to produce content that's really worth lots of people sharing, then it may not be the right thing to be doing, is producing content. And if somebody's not willing to front it and be the face of it, then again, maybe they've got other things that need to be put in place first. So,
yeah. Like, for example, content. If a small business produces content with the idea in mind of helping their immediate customer, okay, I'm going to produce some content that's going to help the customer because I had somebody walk in my door and ask me that question. So now I'm going to answer that question in a piece of content. So not only have I created some evergreen content that I know people are going to ask me, but then I can turn around and share it. So even if they don't get around to sharing it yet, they do have the content now there that they can point their customer to. So that becomes a small win. It becomes a step. And yes, they're building some content, but they're thinking in terms of the short-term win that they can make with each of their customers. And hopefully they can build it up from there. Okay?
I think that's a great point. I mean, I've got a principle which is everything I learn, I teach. And it means you've got to have discipline, that even the most annoying details you're thinking, and you go into it's actually, if you spend the time, somebody is being helped. And that saves them effort. And it means that then you gain trust and reputation for somebody that's been helpful. Mm-hmm. And so applying that to the business is exactly the same. And search likes people to have answers.
Right. Very good. Okay, Kevin, we got Kevin Ross here with a question. I have a question for you, for Marilyn and I. Is there a video link I can use to link to a post I am writing regarding using the G+ network as leveraging tool in our online business? Well, we'll have to the link to this one obviously, and we'll have to look around and try to work on getting an answer for you on that one, Kevin. Do you have something that you can point them to, Martin, along those lines?
I would say, I don't know. Go to plusyourbusiness.com. Go and check. I've written. There's a lot of guides. If you search for Google Plus, if you search Google Plus marketing, or you search for pretty much any keywords, there's a lot there, Kevin. I mean, and I'm sure these guys have got lots of guides as well. It depends what you're after. But I think the Google Plus marketing one has got some visual stuff. It's got videos. It's got lots of links.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to get those links on there for you, Martin, to your Plus Your Business website, because I know you have a lot of sort of starter content for people to get started. That's available for them free, that they can kind of get the feeling for what you're doing, and then of course they really want to ramp it up. Then we'll have you talk toward the end here about your academy, which is an amazing next step if somebody really wants to really get serious in all this. Okay, that's very good.
John, I'm going to jump in here on a Hangout that. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
On a Hangout that Martin did last week with Ray Hiltz and his Lunch Bunch group, Scott Scowcroft was asking him if Martin foresaw a tipping point for Google Plus? There's been a lot of negative press about Google Plus. Is it being dropped by Google? Is it, you know, ghost town, et cetera, et cetera? And so, hence Scott's question about, does Martin foresee a tipping point? And Martin, if you could kind of recap your answer, and also I wanted to add on to that, does it really matter if there's a tipping point or not? What does that make? Does that deprecate the value of Google Plus as far as all the things that you've already mentioned today?
Yeah, it's a good. It's one of those. It's one of those. We've been around. It's going to be the press. The press hasn't understood that Google Plus is a social destination and a social layer. It tends to ignore that, if I'm being generalizing. So they look at the social destination bit and go, well, it's not Facebook. It's not meant to be. It's not trying to be. Facebook's won the social graph. It's got your friends and your families in a tight-knit group. Google Plus is for your passions. It's for people you don't know, for people that are into the things that you're into that you didn't say to your friends that you're into. And it's for business and it's for networks and, you know, for networking. It's a different beast. So does it matter? Not really. It was Mark Traphagen ages ago when people were talking about, this has gone back 3 years ago, and when people were talking about, well, let's get all the people from Facebook over. And Mark's like, I don't want them over. Why do I want them over? They're over there, my family. I don't really, this is for different conversations. So I think it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Now, in terms of tipping point and what I said to Scott, I'm seeing it already. Local. Let's follow Google. Let's not take what we think or we feel. Let's look at what Google's done. Google My Business launched last July, and it allowed for Google Places and Google Local and everything to kind of come together in one dashboard, and it works. It works really well. They then decide that this year they'll gamify doing reviews. And they're doing the reviews. It means if you get 200 reviews, you become like some level of reviewer. And you become a local guide, and you get a little icon next to your name. I've got about 120 reviews, and I noticed there's a little local guide symbol that happens. So you've got the people that have been set up, and then you've got reviewers. And I'm saying that, well, let's look at mobile as one of the main interfaces. People now, and this has been anecdotal, but I think it's pretty general, people are being rewarded for having a mobile-friendly site. If you haven't got a mobile-friendly site, then it seems that you want to get one. So what have we got? We've got reviewers and reviews. People, like lots of people going out and doing reviews. We've got the ability to create these pages, these local pages, as well as brand pages, but local pages. And then we've got mobile being the main interface that's being they're making sure that people have got their act together. That to me looks like we're well on the way, and it's Google Plus. But people, when they're filling out the mobile, don't know it's Google Plus. And people, when they're leaving reviews, may not even know they're leaving it on the Google Plus profile. They're just leaving the review. That happens that they've got a Google account. Eric Schmidt has said that in the next 4 or 5 years, there's going to be 2.5 billion new devices, new mobile devices on the market. And he said they're all going to be based on Android. That's the emerging markets. So we've got local business, we've got mobile growing like a crazy market. Android is the way into the ecosystem now. We've got Chrome as the browser, over 50% of usage, way into the ecosystem. People are in Google Plus, they don't even know it. You've got Google, you've got a Gmail, you've got a Google Plus account. You're personalized, so I said this earlier, it's actually private, it's called now. Your results in google.com by default are private. People are constantly in the ecosystem. They just don't know it. So is there a tipping point? It might have happened, but it may not be what you were expecting.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, you won't know it till you see it, and then you go, oh, it tipped. Is that kind of the idea?
Definitely, and I think we've been looking in. I think we've been looking in and going, what's about the content? We can move stuff into search and build communities. Yeah, all that is wonderful. And it really is an exceptional experience. But all along, mobile and local is happening over there.
John, is the blower too loud in the background, or shall I have you?
No, you're good.
Okay. It's kind of driving me buggy, but I'm glad it's coming, not bothering everybody else. Martin, you've used communities on Google Plus, and you mentioned Plus Your Life, and in particular, Plus Your Business.
Yeah.
You've used the community as a way to build relationships, to build large targeted audiences, and you've given away tons of free advice and how-tos and how businesses can utilize Google+. It's been a tremendous, tremendous amount of work on your part. And you still have a plethora of free information and materials. But you've also developed the Plus Your Business Academy as a paid subscription for people. And so I just thought you might explain how that academy evolved and how it works for our audience.
Yeah, so Google Plus, if you want to get into the content side and building your personal brand, as you guys know, it's a journey. It isn't something that happens in a week. You don't just learn to click the buttons and then you're away. And so we broke it down into 5 levels. And level 5 is the evidence in search that you are an authority in a particular niche. So David Ameland is level 5 for semantic search. You get the top 5 result for that. And then we have Anna Bennett, who's Pinterest consultant, and Sue Zimmerman, who's Instagram marketing, and a lot small biz tech. We've got Ramon Ray coming on board, and amazing kind of like outcome at the top there, but a pathway for people. And that's really what I want to put together, as opposed to going, okay, well, let's just create the most authoritative networks. Actually, we've got to give people ladders. We've got to help people to display their uniqueness and to be able to follow a path. And the path is fairly straightforward, which is you've got to build the relationships, you have to build your content and create your content, find your uniqueness, find your unique voice, and allow the community to support that. And this is what happens, and you can see it time and time again. You can see the people who are doing well with this, and it's different to just take the product and go off and do it. It is very much a community structure because it requires you to change as well. It requires you to see digital life and real world life as one thing, but it knocks some of the edges off, short-term outcome focused. It actually is a journey. It's almost as if, imagine that we're going to be doing this for the next 10, 15, 20 years together. How would you behave differently now, knowing that that's the trajectory? So that's what we've got with the Academy, and everything from small business automation, where Schaefer's come on board. He's Infusionsoft consultant, that's software that we use. And it means that people have got access, and it's just an easy way to, hopefully, quicken the journey for people.
I love that analogy of ladders. That sounds perfect. And now if someone wants to get involved with the Plus Your Business Academy, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, the website address is plusyourbusiness.com/academy, and check it out there. Or send me an email. If you're watching this and you want to know more, just send me an email. I'm relatively approachable. Martin@plusyourbusiness.com.
Okay, very good. We have a comment from Fernice. He says, what are some of the subjects that are essential if you want to create content? So she's kind of working on, what do I create content on? You got some kind of real quick ideas, which we're coming to the end of the show here.
That's really the why. Why are you creating content? What is it you want to say? What is it you want to teach? What is it you want to help people with? And everybody's got their own thing, their own way. But what stands out is when it's you doing it.
Okay, very good. Yeah, ask yourself why. Why are you doing what you're doing, and why would somebody want to learn from you, and what do you have to share to them?
And Eric Inga had a short video yesterday that was a little bit on this topic, and one of the points was, what questions are not being answered in your industry? What's the question not being asked that you can answer?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, we're coming to the kind of the end of our hour, and so before we start running over, let's give you some quick parting thoughts to leave us with after this whole hour of all this neat information, and what's your kind of final little frosting on the cake thought here?
Look strategically at what you're trying to achieve. spend the time, look, and instead of looking at Google Plus being a solution, look out strategically. If you're in business, if you're looking at building your personal brand, do that bit first. Where do you want to be in 3 years' time? Then come back, and the first thing is look at your website. And look at your blog, and look at that being the place where it's going to be almost your home base. From there, start then looking at the tactical. Start then looking at the operational. How much time are you willing to put in? And is it going to lead, whether it be across lots of different platforms, taking your content, distributing them, who's going to be doing that? If it's going to be you, is it all going to lead to where you want to be? And that would be the model I would say, is start strategic, then look at the tactics, then look at the operational. And if you do that, then you go in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
That's actually a perfect segue to where we're headed next in our own small business web tech show. And John, I think you were going to let people know what that was.
Yeah, we've been thinking about this for quite a while, and we've slowly started to kind of zero in on the idea of thinking of your website as a business asset and that kind of theme. So we're going to be having the next 3 or more shows. We're going to focus on that theme. And next, and it's going to be on the second Wednesday instead of the second Tuesday. So keep that in mind. It's going to be on Wednesday, and we're going to be focusing on how small businesses oftentimes leave really good opportunities on the table, so to speak, because they don't look at their website. And I know, Martin, you've been focusing on this the entire hour as being this central hub. And I love that you brought that up, kept bringing that up, because that's exactly the way I feel about it too. And getting small businesses, instead of jumping out and going on Facebook or going on Google Plus, they tend to then ignore their website. Their website is off somewhere. They had it done free for them. They had their cousin's friend of their cousin whip it together for them real quick, and there it is. It's a checkbox item, and they move on, when really it should be the focus. So we're going to start off with our next show is going to be Foundations of a Business Web Asset, is going to be the title. And we've got Gina Fidel to help us as a guest host, and her Fat Eyes web development company, along with our own web development company. And we're going to be talking, we're going to bring some panel members in from different areas, from SEO to marketing to whatever we can find, people that come in and kind of address these ideas and bring it into the small business world, and in terms of how do you focus your website as being a business asset and not just something that's a checkbox item.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to go on our next show, which is going to be again on Wednesday, June 10th. Okay? So
I would like to thank Martin very, very much. I know how busy you are, and you gave us generous time beforehand with our Oceanside audience, and just simply cannot thank you enough. Your expertise is par none in this area, and just, I'm going to go back and be taking notes big time. It was just a wonderful experience, and just very special that everything was oriented towards small business. So let's give Martin a nice hand out there in Oceanside so we can...
Hey, yeah. Very good.
And thanks, of course, to our audience. You make it all come alive, and that's what's so special about Hangouts on Air. So thanks all around, and we'll see you next Wednesday, June 10th, for our Your Website as a Business Asset beginning series. Thank you, Martin, again, and we'll see you all next month, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, Rich. Thank you.